This is Aaron Levine, LG Insurance Agency, hanging out with my friend Andrew Chermark from Insured Analytics on another episode of the Who You Work With Matters podcast. Andrew, you and I met at a PIA national conference down in Arlington, Virginia, not too long ago, and I'm like, I got to get this guy on the podcast. I got to learn more about what you do because you solve a problem. You solve something that is, how do I be polite about it? My biggest pain point in the insurance industry, right? You solve a problem around commercial auto insurance, maybe not necessarily the insurance, but there's a direct impact on insurance premium for businesses that own fleets of vehicles, and those premiums have gotten out of control, like to the point of I shrug when I get a renewal because it's like, take it or leave it. I don't know what else to do for you, but you've been in the world of data and telematics and really working around these problems for quite some time. And I can't wait to be able to share a little bit more about your story, what you do, how you do, and what we're going to do to solve the insurance premium problem around commercial auto. Did I get that right?
You got it. You 100%, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm a good student.
It was great to meet you down in PIA. And yeah, basically we're just trying to empower agents and their clients to drive safer. And it takes work. A lot of these small business owners, they wear a lot of different hats in a business. And we try to empower them to first identify risky drivers and then give them the tools and educate them to rehabilitate and coach drivers to try to improve their risk portfolio. That's the key.
The coaching is important, right? Because I get business owners that say, I'm going to hire whoever I can hire, right? I need people to just go to work, right? We need that labor class that's able to go to work. And oftentimes, I'm profiling here, that labor class doesn't have the best driving record. Being able to coach that, start somewhere, coach it to be better, is going to have a significant impact on rates over the period of the next couple of years. We're going to talk about commercial auto, but the workers' comp rate will also be affected because of a safe driver not getting into an automobile accident will have less likely impact on workers' compensation insurance. So many ways to tie in premium discounts later on, but having a safe and happy workforce, a safe driving workforce, right, also creates a happier workforce.
That's correct.
When you can get to work safely and your vehicles work and everything, it makes it better for everybody. So where did you come up with the idea of Insured Analytics?
Well, it came from a long time ago. I've been in the telematics business for many years. Started it with cell phones. I used to own Nextel two-way radio cell phone stores. Was selling actually GPS tracking on the cell phone. And then one day a customer called me and said, Andrew, this doesn't work. So I wind up following the truck to find out that the driver was putting his Nextel phone inside a potato chip bag because he did not want to be tracked.
There's always a way around it.
Always a way around it. So I found out, the driver was actually picking up garbage within the route for himself. But what I did find out that day is that there are other ways to provide productivity and training for drivers, which is like these big black boxes we were involved in probably about 25 years ago.
Okay.
But nowadays, devices are much more than just where drivers are, what they're doing. It's more of a driver safety program and product for harsh braking, rapid acceleration. But to your point, Aaron, it's very hard to find good workers. And the one thing small business owners don't want to do is fire somebody because they're not driving safe or they're driving erratic. What we're finding is it's like the carrot and the stick. And years ago, it was the stick. It was the big brother.
Right.
And that's basically what tracking was used for years ago. But nowadays, it's become much more than that. It's become more of getting drivers engaged and making it more just a friendly competition among small business owners with their workers to get them engaged to drive safer through, incentives and just through the carrot. And I think that's, most people do what they get rewarded for.
You can't use a stick anymore because you get in trouble for that, right? You have to dangle a carrot for everything. And, finding a way to gamify it,
Sure.
I think is certainly helpful for for team members, right? If you have a working crew, if you have 15 vehicles on the road and you can gamify some of this for small rewards, $25 gift cards, or, more paid time off, something along those lines, people are going to work towards achieving those. I was at an event a couple weeks back in New York City, an InsurTech NY event, and one of the new technology vendors was a gamification tool. So, there may be some integration to actually add the tool that does the gamification for you into the analytics program. With Zapier, you can get data in and out of programs very, very easily now. But, by gamifying it, you create that opportunity for people to do better and reward them for doing better, especially when everybody's doing a similar task on a daily basis. There's ways to increase productivity that way, which I think is awesome. Now, you said you started in telematics, and when we work with, teams of people, business owners, we talk about having these tools to monitor your vehicles, monitor your drivers, but also adding, we had cameras, there's AI now built into a lot of these different systems. So, where's telematics come from, and where's it going?
Well, telematics, as we said earlier, came from basically just a dot on the map where are the vehicles. Now it's taking more with driver AI, where we're basically using artificial intelligence to help better understand how drivers are driving and how we can rehabilitate and coach them. To your point earlier on gamifying the driver safety, a lot of these programs nowadays have that built right into their telematics,
Okay.
where drivers can actually have an app on their phone where they can actually see a driver scorecard. It's kind of similar to like a report card you get in high school.
Right.
0 to 100, the higher the number, the safer the driver.
Sure.
So it's great, and how they gamify and got your drivers engaged is that they list all the drivers on the app and where they score.
Right.
So that way they can see where they rank. And then we actually have an electronic gift card program built directly into it with all the major boxes.
Amazing.
Walmart, Home Depot, and what's nice is the small business owners can send an electronic gift card directly from the system directly to the employee's phone. $25 gift card, $10 gift card. And that's kind of how we get guys engaged in driving safe. As far as like the some of the services and products to help rehabilitate and coach, these safety cams now are really good. As GPS is great, but it only tells you where and when something happened. When you have a dash cam with AI built in, it tells you why things happen.
Right.
And in today's world, a lot of times it's not the driver's fault. We're finding now around the country, especially in the southern belt of the United States, there's a lot of staged accidents going on. These small business owners that have a name on the side of their van, unfortunately, they've become somewhat of a target for staged accidents.
Yeah, so I see that all over my Instagram feed. We see those staged accidents all the time, and when a driver says it's not my fault, well, let's prove it. Because when that lawsuit letter comes in, if we don't have the documentation and the video backup that shows the dash cam video for what actually happened, right? Different states have different rules, but some comparative negligence in there, it maybe gets the driver and the business owner out of a lot of hot water if there was erratic behavior by somebody else, right? Like, oh, I got into an accident with a business vehicle. They have deep pockets. We're automatically going to, file a $5 million lawsuit. When it was really your fault, and we have the video to prove it. So there's a lot to that, and I think that benefit often will go to the dash cam video holder more than not, right? Like
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of times too, listen, if the accident isn't the driver's fault, obviously we can help exonerate them. If it is their fault, then we use that as coaching tools to help rehabilitate and obviously get them to drive safer. At the end of the day, insurance companies want to know whose fault it is, during the loss, and be able to mitigate or quickly to find out who's at fault.
Right. So we met in Washington, D.C. at an event for PIA National. So what role are you taking on when it comes to, the association for PIA?
Yeah. So, and thank you for bringing that up. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take this data and we're trying to empower brokers, insurance agencies around the country to really help their their clients, their existing clients, to be able to use this data that they currently, pay for to optimize their productivity for payroll, but to actually use this driver data, the driver data scores, as we met earlier, to try to help them look more attractive to underwriters.
Right.
And the way we do that is we take the GPS data that a policyholder may have, and we use different, different methods and different tools to position it in a way that it would be, visually pleasing to an underwriter. Make it easy for them to see exactly what the risk is in a very quick, efficient way to see whether or not that client, could potentially, get a rate reduction.
Which I think is great. That's the ultimate goal, right? It's from the business owner's perspective. I'm going to spend more money on these GPS and telematics tools. How do I find a way to save that money? And there's a premium savings, but then there's also a lawsuit expense reduction that comes with safe driving, right? So it's the conversation about reducing the total cost of risk that we need to have and get the consumers of insurance, the business owners to buy into that, especially when you start having fleets of vehicles. We all have different definitions of fleet. Your definition of fleet is probably anybody with 2 vehicles or more. But the small company is not going to be able to, or may not be interested in purchasing, a system, because they're not going to see the benefit in the same way that a 50 or 100 vehicle company is going to see the benefit for the telematics, because there's guaranteed claims to happen when you're in a larger fleet. So when we're working with larger companies, there's obviously different rules to the data for what we're working with, right?
Absolutely. It's funny you say that about smaller companies. My wife and I, we started our business, our GPS business. It's called Smart Fleet. 18 years ago in our basement, and we started with small businesses, 3, 4 vehicle fleets that are now 10, 15, 20 vehicle fleets. And what we found out is most companies that have 50 vehicle fleets or 5 vehicle fleet, they operate the same way. They have service calls, they have technicians on the road. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the same type of safety tools that these 50 vehicle fleets have, and we're trying to introduce those same methods with small businesses. Give them the tools, educate them, allow them to make it easy for them to manage these workers. As far as trying to help the PIA and the agents, what we also found with these small business owners, or really any business owner that has vehicles on the road, is they're very hesitant to give access of their GPS data to an insurance carrier. They're, obviously they're afraid that, if I give it to an insurance carrier, they're going to raise my rates. We've seen some of that in the consumer side of the house for insurance. So it's kind of been top heavy over the last couple of years with carriers kind of saying, look, if you want discounts, we have, you have to take this GPS and we need access to it all the time. What we're finding though now is that insurance companies want to have access during renewal times. And that's the time when we can help your clients really kind of take a look at their GPS, 60 to 90 days prior to renewal, give them a plan to really address the bottom 20% of the most riskiest drivers, and put together an action plan to rehabilitate and show the insurance companies that they're gradually improving those risk scores. And if we can do that, then that business owner will say, Aaron, I trust you with my insurance. You're a trusted advisor to my business, because obviously small business owners have their attorneys, their insurance agents, and their accountants, right? Those are the 3 trusted advisors of a small business. And you play a big part of that to a small business owner. So they trust you, and they trust you enough to say, Aaron, I'm a little scared to give this data. And we'll turn around and say, listen, if the data's not good, obviously we're not going to share it with the insurance carrier, right? But we'll do our best to make it look attractive to an underwriter.
But I think the important part is getting the business owner to buy in on the importance of, 1, the data, and 2, how do we make the data better, right? How do we improve those driver safety scores? And, the business owner has to be interested in improving and actually doing the work to get their employees on board to improve them. So there's a couple of moving parts there, but I wonder if there's a direct correlation, and you may know the answer to this, of having a telematics system, having a GPS related system, dash cam or no dash cam, to insurance losses, period, right? There's probably a correlation. Just having the technology in place reduces losses paid by the insurance companies.
Absolutely, it does, and
Right.
and it's a proven fact. And insurance carriers are actually, you see commercials every night on TV from the consumer side of it,
Right.
and it's a proven fact that the loss ratios, obviously do get a reduction. When it comes to the commercial side of the house, for some reason it just hasn't been adopted, and I think it has a lot to do with multiple factors that you just said.
Right.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to empower these small business owners to make it easy for them to introduce safety programs. A lot of times, these guys might not even have a handbook
Right.
in their company. So we're trying to first of all, give them a handbook. We're trying to help them have a
Right.
driver safety program within this handbook. And more importantly, just try to give them, maybe a one-page sheet. I mean, that's kind of what we do as part of one of many techniques we do. We try to give them, like I don't want to say a cheat sheet, but like a one-page sheet on a monthly basis to give them some talking points. Because you're absolutely right. If an owner does not stand up in front of their employees, whether they have 3 vehicles, 5 vehicles, or 50. Because they're the guys or gals that are signing the checks.
Right.
So they're the ones that need to get up to start off that meeting and say how important driver safety is. Even if they only do a 2 or 3 minute introduction to the meeting and then they hand it off to their managers, we always encourage the owners to get involved and get engaged. Because that's really the only way that the employees will follow. It's like follow the leader, right? You need to have that owner to be engaged.
You hit a point just before that. The commercial side of it is slow to adopt, right? So on the personal side of the telematics game, Allstate, Progressive, Travelers, you name it, auto insurance company has a vehicle monitoring system, right? It monitors acceleration, hard braking, cornering, time of day that you drive your vehicle, how long you drive your vehicle, right? So it's, not necessarily monitoring speed, although it has the capabilities. And then you get a score. I did this once upon a time when Progressive was my auto insurer. They're not currently, and that has nothing to do with the telematics. But my rate actually went up after the after the 6 months on the system. So not the outcome I was looking for. I was looking for that 20% discount for safe driving. But that's why they make you keep it in for 6 months, because you can behave for a week. You can't behave for 6 months, unless you totally change your driving habits. So it didn't work out for me, but I know so many people that it's actually worked out for and provided a discount. But on the commercial side, a business owner will say, "Great, what's my discount?"
Exactly, and
I can't respond to that. I don't know. I have to go back to underwriting. And then they manually underwrite to see if they can find additional credits and savings. And we're not incentivizing them from a commercial insurance premium standpoint to take those next steps. And unfortunately, a lot of business owners want to be incentivized by the premium dollars to take the next steps because we don't want to pay extra out of our pocket. When you get bigger middle market accounts, they see total cost of risk, they see dollars differently, and they can put it together. But the small business owner, everything is tied directly to that premium, unfortunately.
You're absolutely right, and it's our job. It's our job as consultants. It's our job as people that they trust to really educate them. That you'd be surprised. Years ago when I first started in the telematics business, we primarily were obviously selling small businesses, but mid-sized businesses. But I tell you, there's a huge adoption rate right now in telematics with commercial, especially with plumbers, electricians. I mean, obviously, as the over-the-road trucking goes, obviously they're the early adopters. They actually, are regulated by the government to use telematics.
Right.
But there's been a great adoption of telematics with plumbers, electricians, your service-based companies. And those are the companies that are in most books of business of small to medium-sized agencies, and those are the types of businesses we work with. One of the things that is really good for an agency is these rating systems they have now. And what I mean by rating systems is they're actually software companies that actually create an analytical platform, and that's one of the things that we do offer to the agencies of PIA. It's a system called the Milliman rate. It's called AccuRate by Milliman, and basically what it does is it takes driver behavior data and usage-based data and creates a score. Their type of score is actually a 3-digit score, similar to like a credit score.
Okay.
But it's very similar to what you said earlier. What time of day do you drive? Where do you drive? how many miles you drive to, short distances, long distances. But the point is, what it does though, it enables the agency to work with an existing client, or if you're looking to grow your business, right, you can actually use it to attract new customers. Instead of saying, hey, let me give you a quote, as you're approaching new commercial prospects, you can easily say, hey, do you guys use GPS tracking? And 9 times out of 10, they will say yes. And then your next question to them is, okay, what are you using that at all with your current insurance broker? And 9 times out of 10, they'll probably say, no, I don't give the data to them.
Right.
And that's an opening for you to do consultative selling. Solutions, really try to create solutions to earn their trust.
So it's funny, we talk a lot even in my office, we focus on audits, but the audits around workers' compensation and even liability, having correct property values. I've never thought about taking the approach of auditing the commercial vehicle, commercial driving behavior, but that's just what you were talking about. There's a way to audit that if they're using the data and find a way to get those scores up, not down, right? We want higher scores for better driving, but that audit is huge because that expense of commercial auto insurance is just as high, if not greater, than the workers' compensation insurance premium, and definitely higher than the general liability in many cases for a lot of these businesses. So being able to use that data and leverage it is important. We need more companies to continue to adopt it. But this Accurate system, it's a state-based system?
It is. It's approved by regulators in over 40 states right now.
Okay.
It was started as a joint venture between Azuga, which is a telematics service provider. They were recently acquired by Bridgestone Tire.
Okay.
And basically, they were acquired 3 years ago. But the premise of it was using billions of miles of driver behavior data to create this Accurate score. And again, the one thing that for small business owners in that mid-market is that, they wear a lot of different hats. And anytime you talk to anyone about insurance, just like you said earlier, commercial auto, you're like, oh, well, that's the same way to a business owner when they talk about their insurance and talk about renewal. It's very confusing. They don't know much about it. But what they do know is they know how much they pay. And they know that, if somebody could help them, at least explore the opportunity.
Sure.
A lot of people don't realize this, but there's a lot more to just driver behavior. It's how they're maintaining their vehicles. These systems nowadays has the ability to do what they call driver vehicle inspection reports. It's basically a simple app that's built right into these telematics systems where a driver will walk around the vehicle. You can customize them for, say, just 5 points. So maybe you say, okay, the blinkers work. There's windshield wiper fluid, right? You need to have that to keep your windshield clean.
Simple things.
Yeah, and just, the tires
Simple
are inflated,
things.
At the beginning of the day, end of the day. Insurance companies love that.
There's so many times, like, we don't do heavy trucking, but you get mid-sized trucks that have a DOT requirement, and there's DOT issues, and, a lot of the DOT issues are maintenance-related issues for not keeping up with inspections and maintenance on your trucks. Things that in theory should be simple, but are not, and they're not put in the hands of the driver because the business owner keeps it on a shelf, right? And the driver just goes and does what they do. But if you put it on the app and, hey, this is the weekly walk around the vehicle, let's check these 5 things, and at least it's checked off. We have those data points of simple vehicle maintenance to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Does a vehicle need to get in for an oil change? Do we need to get in for tires, right? How old, all that data. The more we can aggregate in one simple place, the easier life is going to be for everybody.
Yeah, and there's so many things that can time. We could sit here all day talking features and drop features, and it's really about what will work for that small business owner. We don't want to overwhelm them. We want to make it easy for them to do business with us. We want to make it easy for them to implement new things. The bottom line is that these small business owners, they need help. And commercial auto, as an industry, it lost, I think, $5 billion last year alone.
Right.
So it's obviously not a moneymaker for anyone. However, there's so many different things that can really help rehabilitate and coach drivers. And it's all about just asking that question. How are you using it? How can we use that data to better leverage that?
Let me ask the how question to you is how can insurance agents engage with you so you can help them sell more policies. Can we work with you as agents to help choose the right system? Is there one system that's better for everybody, or there's different types of systems for different types of drivers?
Well, that's a great question. And first, yes, you can work with us. We want to be a risk resource for you. I mean, we're in the fleet risk management business. That's what we do. We're experts in it. We're thought leaders. Been around a long time. So yeah, I mean that's kind of how we're viewed, as being like that extra resource for you, for us to help you create surveys that you can email out to your book of business, and then to be able to do an analysis of what they're currently using, if they're happy, what are they doing, what are they not doing, and then we make a recommendation to them. A lot of the companies are very similar, so it really comes down to ease of use for these small business owners, and kind of what we can address and get the best bang for the buck. And we always believe that if we can introduce a few things just to change a little bit of the behavior to get those scores up, as I said earlier, like electronic gift cards, DVIR. They even have things nowadays where they have defensive driving lessons, which is really cool. Insurance companies love that.
Sure.
We actually have the tie directly to the scorecards.
Okay.
So what that means is, if a driver is a risky driver, we can actually have a 2-minute, we call it micro clip videos, where it gets actually sent to that app, and then they have to watch it on a Monday morning.
Watch it before you turn the truck on.
Yeah, well, we have an electronic little buzz in there.
Disable the vehicle.
Yeah,
right?
no, but it's again, we're trying to empower the agencies, the small agencies around the country, to be able to use us as a resource and be able to really go to their book of business and be able to attract new people from a consultative fleet point of view. Again, right now, as I said earlier, consumers with telematics, it's been pretty popular. You see commercials every night. But when it comes to commercial auto and telematics, small business owner, or any business owner, are very reluctant to give that data to an insurance carrier. So they're really counting on you, the agent, the trusted advisor, to really guide them and really help them improve that data so that it's more attractive for an underwriter. Because again, it's all about profitable business.
Right. And most of us don't know how to engage appropriately with telematics until everybody gets to watch this episode. So again, Andrew Chermark, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate the information. I think a lot of our insurance agent community and my friends are going to find a tremendous amount of value, and hopefully blow up your inbox with a ton of questions because I have so many more, but we're going to get to those when I have some business to bring in the door that you can help me with, and hopefully we make some money together. So again, Andrew, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you soon.